questions from you all. Yes?
Sure. How involved has the Community Police Commission been with all of you?
I also had the opportunity to get to know some of the members such as Chi Thomas, who have made an effort to be a part of our community as far as the youth council goes. We wouldn't have been able to do a lot of our data research without them.
They also came and attended one of our sessions and worked with us on research and information.
Thank you. Is there an accountability plan? Like if things aren't going the way they should, do you have people who are assigned to make calls or check in or find out what's going on?
So here's where all of the planning and all of the money and things that we've just talked about comes in. So the individual that is hired from the youth council, their job is to keep track of all of this, of all of the people, to make sure that things are being evaluated properly, and to make sure that we have data backing up everything else that we need. Also, so this is going to be going on in 3 different schools, and we have the 3-year trial period that we've proposed. And so during this period, 3 years is how long we think that the trial needs to be. So that's not the entire plan. The 3 years is so that we can make tweaks and changes as we see fit, and as we think that things need to be changed or that things are not going as they should. So that 3-year period is a trial so that we have that time to just see how it works and change things up.
Thank you.
Yes, there was a gentleman killed in New York that was mentally ill by the police. It looked like he was brandishing a weapon, but it wasn't. Long story short, the residents knew he was mentally ill. And if maybe the officers were living in the community, maybe that would have been prevented. So twofold question, what is the opinion on mentally ill training and police officers living in the neighborhood that they police in?
I'd like to take the time to say that whether the community remembers it or not, there was a similar situation with Tanisha Anderson, my condolences to her family and friends and her community. And I just wanted to say that even though the officers were not held legally liable, the community was shaken at around the same time that Trayvon Martin's situation had occurred. Now, Trayvon Martin's situation struck the community more and the nation because he was a child at the time. And even though Tanisha Anderson was, I believe, 23 or 24 years old, she was not given the same amount of attention or accountability in terms of how the community viewed the situation. Now, I just want to say that mental health is a part of one of the major topics of the consent decree, and officers in the Cleveland Police Force are currently doing their best to implement training as far as a mental health crisis unit, in addition to having reevaluations of the use of force policy. It's not going to be easy to address every issue, but I feel like they're doing a great effort to try to help influence the community, both in a mental health sense and in their use of force policies.
And thank you. What about the community policing? Do you think that should be required to prevent situations like that?
I think it's also important to know that 1 in 4 adults does live with a mental illness, and so it's important to know that statistic when you're just out living your life. But at least at Magnolia Clubhouse, we have officers come in at least once a year, and they meet with our clients, and they see what mental illness looks like on an individual, and it looks like this. It looks like all of us around us, normal human beings. And so there are specific police officers in Cleveland that we will then call if we're having an issue of safety, at least at my place of work, and that's what we hope that other people will do, and we hope that more police officers will be trained to work with individuals with a mental illness.
I just wanted to comment real quick on the gentleman's question. This is not just a police issue, this is a community issue. I live in this neighborhood. I live right around the corner. So I do live in the neighborhood. We have other officers here that actually live in the city of Cleveland, live in the neighborhoods that they police. And it's not just enough to have the officers live in the neighborhood. It's also a question of making sure our community is educated on mental illness and things like that that happen, because we have to have the communities come together when things like that happen to make those calls, to assure radio, our communications center, that this is the person that's acting out or that we're calling on, and this is kind of the situation that person's in. So if that information is communicated by the people that are calling, then our officers kind of have that in the back of their minds and actually respond to that call. We talked about the the mental health training for Cleveland police officers. Most of our 900 officers that are in basic patrol have some level of crisis intervention training. And they've had that for some time. We're building on that now. But we are also in that process, bringing the community into that training process. And they're setting the policies. There's a family component so that families that have relatives with mental illness are actually assisting in writing those policies. And then we're also making those connections in the community. We have mental health professionals that actually, at least in our west side neighborhoods right now, actually go out with our officers on those calls. Because even though our officers have training, that 40 hours of training or that week or two of training does not compare to a mental health professional that's trained like that for all their lives to deal with that person. So it's a community effort. It's our officers getting the training we need, getting the information that we need from the community when those calls come in, having those relationships by not just living in our communities, but working day in and day out, but also those community members coming together to make sure that everybody has involvement in mental health within that neighborhood, because it's not just a police matter, it's a community matter.
Thank you.
What metrics will you use to determine during the 3-year period if relations are improving between the two parties?
That's a good question. That is why we need funding, I think. Because it all comes down to it, because we need to be able to have people that are experts in that field. As we said, none of us are older than 25, none of us are professionals yet, and so we need to be able to have experts come in and tell us what would be the best metrics to use to determine these things. We need people to come in and to take our ideas and be able to work with us to perfect them so that we can go out and not waste this money and waste this time, and the students' time and everything, but just so that we're making the best out of this situation and this program.
Programs like yours happening throughout the country that were used maybe as a basis for your proposal, or are you guys the front runners of this as far as you know?
I believe Baltimore, Cincinnati, and a few other cities such as, I think it's in Connecticut. I'm not sure if it's New Haven, but there have been multiple cities that have enacted similar policies to help their communities reestablish boundaries between police and youth, but we really need to be working on collaborative efforts, which is why we're proposing this program.
But also, so what we've proposed is also coming from the EYHA discussion series project that has been going on for about 5 years. So we're using that kind of discussion formatting and the base work that has been done with them as kind of a base for the project that we decided on afterwards.
Cincinnati has actually been running their program, I believe, since 2002, and they've had tremendous results within the community. The major thing I'd like to reiterate is that Cleveland's consent decree may be more new, but we're going down the same path to healing within our community. There have been other incidents that have shaken our community, but at the same time, like Cincinnati, we have the potential to make great impacts in not only our community, but also other areas that are going through similar struggles. The big thing to consider is that it will take time, but if we do this as a joint effort, not only with the police and the youth, but as a community as a whole, we can make a difference.
You may want to look into incorporating sport and arts into this because we have 3 great, major sports teams, and art, we have a very thriving art community, so this can kind of latch on to your mission and help propel it naturally, if you will.
Anything in the dark. Are you guys really willing to make change as soon as possible?
So my question is, what are we doing, or what more can we do to increase the number of people from non-traditional backgrounds going into law enforcement and public safety?
Afraid to be held to task. The chief, the mayor, the community as a whole did a lot for us in passage of issue 32, and we have put our money where our mouths are. We have instituted a lot of changes, young lady. When you talk about are we really making change, we have changed our entry-level exam so that now it is more inclusive of the skill sets that are necessary to be good public servants. We can teach you how to drive, we can teach you how to shoot, we can't teach you how to care about people, all right, and have compassion and know how to talk to folks in the community. So some of these changes that we put in place are so that we can better identify those individuals. All right? We're out in the community now. We have a dedicated public safety recruitment team. 2 police detectives, a sergeant of EMS, and a lieutenant of fire. And all the research, I like it. You talk about how research shows, and your research was on point too, okay? Because I've read all of it. And the research shows where recruitment is concerned, that if you want to increase the number of women and minorities on your safety forces, if that's what your community is made up of, then that's what your recruiters need to look like. And that's what we look like. And we know, and you know, we're people from the community. And so there is a comfortability level there, right? Because people get comfortable with those who they're comfortable with and that they've been around. It's not saying that somebody out from the suburbs or whatever can't make a good officer in the urban community. We just need to know that we have the tools in place to actually identify those folks, that they have the skill sets that we're looking for, compassion, critical thinking, you know, teamwork, team building, that kind of thing. Those are necessary in the public safety forces. So just keep a watch on us, you know. We're doing what you're asking, but this is a big ship. It's a big ship, and it takes time. And one of you, young gentleman here, you speak so well. We had such a good time with you guys out there that day. But like you said, and like we asked, is for time. But we don't mind being taken to task. We don't mind being held accountable. We don't mind you asking. A lot of these things you're asking can be answered in a phone call anytime. We will show up anytime. If you want us to come out and talk to you about what we're doing, please give us a call. We'll be there. Always, right? Y'all call and we come? That's what we do. All right.